Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have something that should be really quite interesting. It's my first encounter with this brewery and I've never tried this style of beer before, so it should be pretty interesting. So we're going to head up to Norway for this one and we're going to visit Ægir Bryggeri, who are from a little village called Flåm in Norway. It's kind of close to Bergen but a little bit inland, and tonight we're having a taste of their Bæver Double White IPA. I've tried a few single white IPAs but never a double, so this one should be something new. But what's also cool about this beer, as you can see, it's a collaboration with Beavertown, who really are one of the top English craft breweries these days. They do some really excellent stuff, and I was looking through this. I've only done one Beavertown review, but I've tried quite a few of their different beers and they're pretty damn awesome. So this should be a very good introduction to Ægir, and I'm sure with Beavertown involved this will be a really awesome beer to review. And this one was recommended to me by Morten at Ølbutikken in Copenagen. Very nice guy, very nice shop. If you find yourself there, do go and check it out. The link to the Facebook is in the description below. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you about both the breweries involved here. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the Ægir and Beavertown websites, the links to my other reviews from both the breweries. I'll add more from Ægir in the near future, and I will get more done from Beavertown in the next wee while hopefully. And all the usual social media things are down there, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please feel free to contact me through those. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of Nordic things coming up and some good Scottish beer when I actually go home for Christmas. So anyway, to tell you about Ægir Bryggeri first, as I said, my very first encounter with these guys. But Ægir are based in Flåm at the bottom of Aurland fjord, which is a branch of Sognefjorden in Norway, and it's fairly inland, but the nearest kind of bigger town is Bergen, but it would probably take you about 2-3 hours to drive to this place because of all the hills. But the village is very small and it only has a population of 350 people, but it's a very well known tourist spot in Norway. They actually have a very beautiful hotel and conference centre, this brewery, and it's well known for having one of the steepest railways in the world, so somewhere that you really want to go and check out, and the pictures are really quite beautiful. But the brewery is named after one of the Nordic gods. So in Norse mythology, Ægir is the master of the ocean and his brother Kari is the master of wind and Logi is the master of fire. So Ægir is said to have hosted the brine feast in his hall, and this was where he hosted all the Nordic gods, and at this feast the food was magically transported and the beer horns filled themselves, and if anyone fights in the hall they're banished of course for all eternally. But Odin said that Ægir brewed the best ale ever known, and that his brewing kettle apparently was a mile deep, and this was stolen by Thor from the giant Heme as a gift to Ægir so that he could keep brewing all these wonderful beers. So they named their brewery as a tribute to him. But the brewery itself opened in June 2007 and it was founded by American brewmaster Evan Lewis, and it's owned by him and his wife, who I believe is actually Norwegian. But he had been an avid home brewer since 1989, but he also has a formal education in brewing as well, and their beers proved to be like very, very popular. So for a period they actually had to brew their beers under license in Belgium while they sort of upscaled their brewery. But in 2012 they opened a new production facility in Flåm, and this has a capacity of 3,500 litres per brew, and thus an annual capacity of over 600,000 litres. And they've designed the brewery so that they can upgrade it to have an annual production of 2 million litres. And in 2011 they also began brewing spirits, and they currently produce a blended and a single malt whisky, as well as aquavit, which is quite a famous, I believe it's more Danish and Norwegian than Swedish, but aquavit is one of these really kind of herbal, unusual spirit drinks. My aunt in Australia is part Danish and she really likes it. I still need to be convinced a little bit, but maybe I'll try some of the Ægir spirits. But as I say, if you find yourself in Norway and you want to explore inland a little bit, Flåm seems like a really beautiful place, and these guys also have a really awesome hotel and conference centre. So as I say, check out the brewery website in the description below. Just a little bit about Beavertown. As I told you, Beavertown are from London, and the brewery was established in December 2011 by Logan Plant, of course related to Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin, and Byron Knight, and this was in the kitchen of Duke's Brew and Q in De Beauvoir in Hackney in London. And Beavertown is actually the old Cockney name given to this area of the city. But the brew house was located opposite the Smoker's Barbecue restaurant and ran 650 litre brews. So they started out as a very small operation, but in March 2013 they moved out of their home at Duke's Brew and Q and into a new site in Fish Island in London. But soon afterwards they actually had to upgrade again because their beers became hugely popular. So So in May 2014 they moved to Tottenham Hale, and they now have a 50 hectolitre brew kit, and there they also run their original 40 BBL brew kit, which they use for their alpha projects and their experimental brews, and today they're widely regarded as one of the best craft breweries in England, and quite rightly so. I've tried a couple of their beers, only reviewed the Gamma Ray for you so far, but Beavertown produce some pretty damn awesome beer, and they're actually canning most of their beer these days, similar to what the Colorado breweries do. But if you've never tried Beavertown beer and you come across some of them, I would highly recommend that brewery. So that's your little bit about both the breweries there. As I say, the websites are in the video description below, so do go and check those out. But we are going to get on to the tasting of this beer now. Really looking forward to this one. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. This one says something on here. It's a double white IPA brewed between Beavertown Brewery in London and Ægir, with a combination of two of their favourite styles, wheat beer and India Pale Ale. I'm not sure. It says it's got some apple skins and coriander and some lime flavours in it, I think. Either that, or it says they added that to the brew. Not quite sure about Norwegian. It's a little bit different from Swedish. And it says on the side, all of our beers are unpasteurised and unfiltered. You should expect some sediment, but enjoy it. It's got white malt, wheat malt and hops, gear, I'm not sure, and I believe yeast also as well, it says. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork there. I do apologise for my bad Norwegian. I'm still learning Swedish since I moved here to Lund, so hopefully you can forgive me for that, but I'm sure I'll improve over time. So you can see, quite nicely presented. It seems to kind of combine the Ægir artwork with the Beavertown artwork, and it works really nicely actually. I do like this kind of Nordic artwork here. It's actually kind of similar to the Celtic artwork. It reminds me a lot of that, and you can see there is the Ægir bottle cap on this one. I'll just put the light down because it seems to be reflecting a little bit, but there you can see the nice kind of Celtic bottle cap on this one. Really looks nice, or nice kind of Viking bottle cap, but a very attractive looking beer. And one thing you can actually see about this, I'm not sure how well you can see it in the camera, but there is a shitload of sediment in this one. And I think, as I said, this beer was released, I think, back in March or something like that, so it was in the Ølbutikken shop for a little while. It's a one-off brew, so we'll forgive it for that, but I'll pour it without the sediment, and then I'll maybe add a little bit to it later and see how we get on there. But let's get this beer open and we'll get on with the tasting. And this beer is an 8% double white IPA. You can see a nice smoky opening on there, and you can actually smell some of the nice fruits coming out of this beer. Really quite interesting. I'll give it a little bit of an aggressive pour, try and get a nice head on it. But we'll add a bit more of the beer with the sediment later on, and we'll see what the difference in taste is. Of course, you know that's the sign of a good beer. Oh, there's actually quite a few sediment particles have escaped in there, but a lot of the sediment was concentrated at the bottom of the bottle there. But yeah, you can see this beer is poured a really hazy, bright yellow, orange, amber colour. There's a lot of sediment floating around in that, a lot more than I was expecting actually. That's probably just because I've been handling the bottle, but you can see a nice kind of bright orangey amber colour. If I bring the light over, you can see exactly what colour that is. Really nice looking. It is mainly opaque, and I'm not sure how well you can see the sediment floating around in this one, but there is quite a lot of it in there, and that will settle down to the bottom. But there's a half finger of a frothy white head there, and that's going to fade away to be just a very thin foamy layer. There's some big bubbles in the glass at the bottom just sticking to the side, and quite a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head, but it's kind of obscured because of all the sediment in there. As I said, there's a hell of a lot of sediment in this beer, but that gives you an idea that it is a good quality bottle conditioned beer. So let's have a smell of this guy. It actually smells very, very nice. It smells more like a wheat beer, this one, if I'm honest. Sniffing up a little bit of the beer. Always annoying when that happens. Done that a couple of times recently. But yeah, it gives you a better smell anyway. But yeah, it smells more like a wheat beer, this one. So you've got a nice sort of light bready, wheaty coriander spice to this one. There's a lot of kind of complexity to this one as well, but mainly it's about the wheat, the bread. You can get a little bit of the yeasty character too, but there's not much of a kind of wheaty spice, if that makes sense. The wheat is there, but it smells very smooth, and you can pick up the nice coriander notes from this too. There's a bit of a kind of, if you sugar it up a bit more, you start to get more of the hoppy characters. You can get a little bit of a kind of lemony citrus out of this one, maybe a little bit orangey actually, and I think there's a little bit of tropical fruit coming out of there. Maybe just a little bit of peach and a little bit of grapefruit or something like that. But yeah, there's more. The aromatic floral characters of the hops come out quite nicely also. That's quite an interesting aroma to that. You get a lot of complexity out of it when you just sugar it up a little bit. But yeah, it really does smell more like a wheat beer, this one, but I'm sure it won't taste like that. It's a combination of two styles. It has got a nice floral aromaticity to it, maybe a bit of herbal character as well, and a bit of, you can smell a little bit of pine resin in there too, but there is definitely a tropical fruit presence, maybe some orangey citrus, but a little bit of lemony character. But for me, the aroma focuses a bit more on the malt, and when it's a white IPA, that's probably what you want actually. So just take a little bit of time and smell this beer. As I said, it's a bit of an unusual style, so do have a go at that, and it does give you an idea of what to expect from the flavour. So without further ado then, we'll get stuck into this beer. So this one is the Bæver Double White IPA, a collaboration beer between Ægir Brewery from Flåm in Norway and Beavertown Brewery from London in England. Skål! Now that, I have to admit, is nice. I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but I was expecting something a bit different from that actually. It's really well balanced. That's the thing. I was expecting it to have a really, since it's a double IPA, I was expecting a hell of a lot of hop character and the malt to just take a bit of a back seat. But the malt is right up there too. That is really nice actually. I have to admit, I enjoy the really smooth, big bready flavoured beers, and this one kind of hits the spot for me. But when it comes to the beers, as I always say, sugar them around your palate a little bit and just let the whole palate adjust before you dissect the flavour too much. Yeah, the hoppy character comes out actually a bit more as your palate adjusts, but the malt, as I say, is a lot more pronounced than some of the double IPAs you'll come across, and that works really nicely. It works in favour of the beer. And the hoppy characters are a little bit different from what you would expect from the aroma as well. But yeah, this is a really, really good beer. If you do find this, give it a try. As I said, one-off limited edition brew, but this is damn good actually. The white IPA is a sort of up-and-coming hybrid style, and I have to admit, I personally really enjoy it, so you know, I would recommend this style. I'd love to try more double white IPAs, so if you come across any, do comment below and let me know some other varieties of this style. But yeah, that's really good. So, in the middle of the palate, you're just blanketed, as you would expect, with a nice big bready malt base. Just goes right across the middle of the tongue. It's almost like it has a sort of, it's maybe like a Munich malt base in this one, or a sort of, it's almost like a combination of a kind of Munich malt base and a big Belgian, almost Tripel base if you like. It's not quite a Hefeweizen, it doesn't have the sort of banana characteristics and the sort of clovey spice. There is a little bit of the coriander there. It's almost like a Belgian wit beer in some sense. It's a combination of a sort of German Helles and a sort of Belgian wit beer. There's just a mixture going on there, and it's really nice actually, but none of these kind of banana Hefeweizen flavours, and I really quite like it actually. There's definitely a bit of a caramel sweetness in there too, just down the middle of the palate. You'll feel as the malt profile in the beer just dries up a little bit, you get this kind of caramel sweetness. It's a little bit biscuity actually, but you can definitely pick up a bit of caramel sweetness. There might even be a bit of a biscuity, almost slightly biscuit syrupy character in there. It reminds me of the digestive biscuits that are really popular back home. Probably popular across the world of course, but there's definitely a bit of sweetness there in the middle of the palate. You can pick up the kind of coriander underpinning to this beer, and the big bready and wheaty yeasty characters in this beer are definitely present. They're just on top of that sort of white bready character, and the wheat is actually a good bit more spicy than the aroma would have you believe, and the coriander just sits there and adds a really nice dimension to the flavour. There's a lot going on in the malt profile of this beer, so do pay attention to that. But let's have a look at the hoppy part of the palate. Yeah, that's really nice actually. So around the edges of the palate, that's of course where you expect the hoppy character to come out. There's quite a lot going on as well. If you go out towards the back corners of the palate, the beer is interesting because you've got a nice kind of underlying herbal character. It's a little bit spicy actually, and as you come further forward you get more floral and more aromatic, and around the front curve of the tongue, for me, it's quite smooth and it's quite grassy. You might detect slightly different flavours, but for me, herbal in the back, floral and aromatic as you come forward, and then smooth and grassy around the front curve of the tongue. Really nicely done. The fruity character in the beer is interesting as well. For me, there's a good dose of citrus in there. It's actually a little bit of a spicy citrus. There's maybe a little bit of orange. There's a bit of tropical fruit in there too. And I would say it's quite a sort of dark, kind of a little bit sour grapefruit actually that's coming out in this beer. The grapefruit for me dominates flavour in this, and it's one of these really kind of quite strong blends of orangey citrus and grapefruit tropical ester in there, and you can feel that just in the little oily bubble that forms behind the very front of your tongue. But what's interesting, they're saying there's lime flavour in this one, and if you pay attention to that front part of your palate, as the beer progresses into the aftertaste, I think the lime is actually coming out there. I do quite enjoy a bit of lime flavour, and I can really pick it out, particularly as you move into the aftertaste. In the aftertaste, the sort of herbal and floral character is coming out a bit more, and the malt base, you do have just a light breadiness, but the malt base dominates the flavour of the beer a little bit for me. But as you move into the aftertaste, more of the hoppy character starts to come out, and it's a kind of, as I say, that slightly herbal kind of floral aromatic spice just builds mainly at the herbal part of the beer though. But there's a lot of interesting things in the flavour of this beer, so do just pay attention to your palate and just let it run wild. There's a lot of really good flavour in this beer. I have to give them a thumbs up, so let's pour the rest of it and just see what this actually does to the beer. Sometimes adding the extra sediment can just add a little bit to the flavour, so we'll see how it goes on. There's a lot more. There's a lot more sediment just poured into the glass there. We'll just give it another taste before we close up on this one. Yeah. It doesn't make that much difference to the flavour actually. It makes the mouth feel a bit smoother having the rest of the sediment in there. But all the flavours I've described for you, putting the sediment in it doesn't really change those flavours that I've just described for you. It does a little bit, as I say, it makes the mouth feel a little bit smoother, maybe even just a little bit more of the bready character, but all those flavours I've described for you, it stays exactly the same, just with that extra little bit of sediment in it. But yeah, this is a good beer, and I'm really glad that I got to try it. I was very lucky that they still had some of it in Ølbutikken. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer then, I would say mid-bodied. Carbonation is quite smooth on this one, but it's quite oily as well. It has the mouthfeel of double IPA, definitely. And the hoppy character is quite interesting because it's got a good lingering hoppy bitterness. For me, the hoppy character resembles a bit more of the kind of Belgian wit beer, if you like. That really is lingering there. That herbal character, the floral aromaticity, and then the smoother grassiness around the front. There is a little bit of the double IPA character in there, namely that kind of tropical citrus blend of fruits in there, but overall the hop character reminds me more of the Belgian sort of wit beers, if you like. But it's a bit spicy, maybe there's even a bit of pine resin in there, but that's very subtle for me, more of a herbal and floral aromatic character in there, but it's quite bitter in the finish on the hoppy part of your palate, but in the middle of your palate, which is the more malty character, it is very, very smooth. So, I mean, overall, this has been a really quite interesting beer review. It has tested my palate. And on the basis of this beer, this is obviously two very, very good breweries. Beavertown I knew before were very good, but Ægir, I'm sure, are pretty damn good as well. I'd love to try some more of their beers. This is an awesome one. If you come across this, it is a one-off brew. You have to try this. It's really nice. It's really enjoyable. The only downside to it is that it is a one-off brew, so maybe you won't find it, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this one. If you do come across it, like I say, do try it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review, my very first review of a double white IPA. It's probably been a little bit of a longer review, so I apologise for that, but a very interesting beer. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So as always, please let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it. A really cool review from half Norwegian, half English. Go and check out both the breweries here. They've produced a really awesome beer together. My first double white IPA review, and hopefully I can review more of these in the future. So do let me know some other Norwegian beers and other English beers that you'd like me to try. I will try my best to get hold of them, and if you do come across any more double white IPAs or indeed regular white IPAs, let me know and I will try and review those for you as well. It's a style that I think is kind of up and coming, and hopefully I can review these for you in the fairly near future. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Go and check out all the links in the description below. If you want to see more beer reviews, subscribe to the channel, go and check out my social media things, and I hope to catch you soon with another beer review. Slàinte just now.